or drop out are often similar to other rural children. So hopefully also these new guidelines will benefit other children who are also disadvantaged. And we also have to keep in mind that, as I said, children are unique. So some left behind children may actually be doing very well because they have good caregivers who care for them, because parents are in regular contact or they see them regularly. But yeah, anyway, having said that, I think it's indeed urgent that action is being taken, and that, as the guidelines also mention, it's not just about providing care, welfare, protection to children left behind, but also that it helps to resolve the root causes.
Well, there certainly is a huge range of different aspects of this to address, and as you said, each case is different. But what regulations are already existing to protect children, and what are the changes that the new guidelines are bringing in? What are the main differences between now and previously for the children who are left behind?
Of course, there were measures in place that would apply to the whole population. There are, for example, social protection schemes such as DIBAL. They apply to any family that lives under a certain level and that live in poverty. But it doesn't specifically target left behind children. They may benefit from it, but they're not specifically targeted. And some, like the All China Women's Federation, has instructed also its cadres, for example, to look after and keep an eye on children left behind. I was told that also the Ministry of Education has asked teachers to do the same. But of course, these measures were not backed up by something as comprehensive as these guidelines. So that's the difference. So these sort of instructions from national level are now having the backup of these guidelines. Similarly, there have been quite a lot of initiatives at the community level, both by NGOs, by individuals, but also by government, to strengthen community-based mechanisms to assist children who are in a disadvantaged situation. It could be children who have lost a parent, or children living in poverty, or children who have been abused or are at risk of abuse, and children left behind. UNICEF, for example, has been supporting the Ministry of Civil Affairs with a program of barefoot social workers, who are parasocial workers living at community level, often from the community themselves, who identify vulnerable children, vulnerable families, and either provide them with support or link them up to services or support. We've also been working with the National Working Committee on Children and Women and the All China Women's Federation to set up child protection mechanisms at community level, with a focus on communities in poor rural areas, and including with in areas with large numbers of children left behind. Their strengths are really about the fact that they are community-based. They have staff and volunteers who are from the community. They know the community well. They're very committed to help children in their communities. And they're, in general, not very expensive and affordable. The challenge is, of course, even though the scale-up of those initiatives is happening. China is a huge country, so it will take a lot of years to scale up to such an extent that it can cover the whole country, or even cover the key areas with the most disadvantaged children. So, more scale-up needs to happen, and the challenge with that is also to ensure that these initiatives remain the quality that they have, and that they do indeed reach out to the most disadvantaged children. And I think the guidelines are opposed to that work, because they provide a very comprehensive framework to work on.
Well, it certainly does look like a very comprehensive framework, which hopefully will be, as you said, implemented successfully moving forward. Mr. Powell, thanks so much for joining the program today.
You're welcome.
We'll be back right after this.
On the record. Join us as we examine the speeches and public discussions of people worth listening to. People with ideas, people with influence, and people with experiences worth sharing. Listen to what scholars, politicians, business leaders, and writers have to say about events, ideas, and knowledge that shape the world. On the record, where we take you directly to the public speeches of people who matter. On the record, where we bring you directly to the public discussions and speeches of people who matter. Join us at 8 a.m. Saturday and Sunday on AM 846 CRI News Plus Radio.
You are listening to On the Record, where we bring you to the public speeches of people who matter. I'm Jincheng Guan in Beijing. Today we listen to an interview on children left behind in China. Next, we're joined by Zai Liang, professor of sociology at the State University of New York at Albany. Professor Zai, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We understand that you are now doing a project on issues of left behind children in rural China. In China today, it is estimated that over 60 million children are left behind by migrant parents, and 2 million are completely alone, which means that they even don't have grandparents. What has made this into a huge phenomenon in China? What are the factors that lead parents to leave their children behind?
Yeah, well, I think there are two major factors we need to consider. One is that China's household registration system that has, for a long time, has implications for children and their parents. First, for example, for a long time, the migrant children were not allowed to be enrolled in public schools in urban places, or they have to pay a lot of money to get into the urban school. And the good news is that the policy now has changed, and it is clear that migrant children now are required to be enrolled in local public schools. But the implementation is quite uneven, and some places better than others. And in addition, from the migrant parents' perspective, not having urban household also means that they're not eligible to a lot of benefits that are sort of typical for urban residents, such as low-income housing, such as health care benefits, employment benefits, etc. So that sort of creates a uncertain situation for them to really sort of thinking about long-term settlement. So if they cannot take care of themselves, it's difficult to take care of their children. But I think I want to emphasize the idea of left behind children is not quite unique to China. Many other countries have similar issues, but China differs from other countries. One key fact, from our study, is to show that the long-term separation of the parents and children sometimes it takes 5 years, sometimes 10 years. I think that's the thing that
Now more and more Chinese people are moving into cities courtesy of this urbanization drive. According to the World Bank reports, by 2030, 70% of the Chinese population will live in cities. And on the other hand, an increasing number of migrant workers are now choosing to return to their hometowns, finding that more opportunities are now often open to them there. How would you say that this demographic change or migration trends change in China might affect the left-behind children phenomenon?
Right, yeah, certainly. And, China's urbanization level is going to go up over time. And it's also true that some